Welcome to the Rich Bitch Show. I'm your host, Candice Lee, a soulful multi-six-figure business mentor helping you create next-level wealth and alignment in your life and business. I believe that having a high-quality business that delivers high-quality results will feed a life and future of wealth, health, happiness, and abundance from wherever you want in the world. I'm here every week to help you vibe higher, reclaim your power, and create the reality and wealth that you truly desire. So let's get started.
3-hour days, 6-figure years, 3-hour days. How is that even possible? In an industry where everybody's running around like chickens with their heads cut off, you're over here relaxing by the pool, spending quality time with your kids, and still doing, what do we have, like multiple 6-figure years, yeah?
Yeah.
How does this even work?
Honestly, I've said it from the beginning, but your structure is your freedom. And so we'll dig into that in a second, but your structure is your freedom. And I've ran the business where I was creating, 150K a year. I was a slave to my laptop for 4 days a week, right? Like literally a slave, getting off the computer. Your eyes are burning. I'm sure you're already nodding your heads. You actually get it. Most clients come to me in this position, but also at the end of the week, feeling so unfulfilled. Like I don't feel alive. I feel like I am dragging my butt through the weekend. I have so much that I feel like I've missed out on, or like FOMO. And that's the moment where I drew the line in the sand and was like, I'm choosing quality of life. And I know for a fact that quality of life will overflow into quality of impact and quality results in every area. And this is where the whole unrealistic, Candice, don't get unrealistic now. Candice, be safe. That's where that all came in from, every voice around me. But it was this major pivot that I knew in my soul I had to do, because for me, freedom had always represented quality of life, being able to say yes, being able to say no, being able to feel good, having longevity. Those were big things that I've desired since I was like as young as I can remember, honestly. I was like, oh, that's what I want. That's how I want to feel. That's who I want to be. And I knew those things, but I got so caught up in this matrix of chaos, busy, and the coaching industry. And when I pulled myself out of that, and honestly had no other choice because I had reached such a place of burnout and just unfulfillment, and got really clear on, okay, well, what were my values from the first place? And recognizing and taking full responsibility that I hadn't intentionally built my business for my values. And that's when simplicity came in. That's when actual time freedom became a part of my reality. So many components came up to life for me by simply choosing, drawing the line, and being as responsible as I possibly could when it came to building from my values. And that meant radically shifting my business structures, implementing business structures that were actually aligned and were going to support the vision, not just chasing the next dollar, and setting up my offers to support that, mastering my marketing and my messaging, my attraction sales, getting off of, free discovery calls or constant sales calls, and actually closing 20K packages in my DMs. Like that's when just so much really shifted for me. It's not that I won't hop on an application call, but we'll get into all of it. It's not that I'm against certain things. It's that if it's not feeding quality of any of the areas, I'm out. And you actually get to decide those things. You get to draw that line, but it's going to take removing yourself from all of the noise, all of the chaos. If you notice that you're scrolling social media and you're watching, Betty and Sally on social media, and they created another new offer, and like they're hyping their audience about this new offer, and then you're like, well, I need to create a new offer, or I should create a new offer, and you haven't even seen the past one through, or you didn't get the sales from the past one, so now here you are spiraling again, and you're creating another offer even though the last launch didn't work. It's like, slow the F down so you can speed up. Simplify this. What didn't work? What do you still have to master? I know, such a shock, right? Like we have so much to grow, master, learn what we don't yet know, perspectives to shift so that we can actually see through our vision. But you have to remove the influence. You have to remove the comparison. You have to remove like that energy of already being in what I'm going to go ahead and say is like an unsafe place within yourself, your body, and your business. So then you're comparing to everybody else's, and then you're questioning yours, and you're going and busying yourself. And I don't think that if you already had 100, 200, 700K in your bank account, you would actually be doing those things.
Totally. You'd move totally different. Yeah.
So that was like really just getting my head yanked out of the sand was the best damn thing that ever happened to me, right? That's when, I made my biggest investment that I had made up until that point. I just took that's what I'm gonna say. It's so unsexy. Radical ownership. So 3 hour days, like, what does this look like? Well, now I have a business model that I've ran for the last 3.5 years. So this isn't just like a trend, you guys. Like, we have to get out of these social media coaching industry trends, and you have to build a company, build a mission, build something that you actually stand behind no matter what's happening in the industry. All of my peers at this point in time, this was like 2022, early 2022, January. And everybody at that point was starting to shift towards low ticket. And I was going straight high ticket. And
Go against the
Candace,
grain.
are you sure this is a good call? This is really unrealistic. Like, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, it's going to be quite simple, right? I'm going to really focus my energy on myself, my message, my brand representation, who I'm being, what I'm attracting. And I'm going to use the extra time to continue to master my skills so that my branding is on point, my messaging is on point, my support is on point. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I don't need 500 sales this month to make my goal. I need
Totally.
5.
Totally. And it's crazy
And
too, because a lot of the time it's just as hard to get that low ticket sale as it is to get that high ticket sale. And then you bring in a lot of people who aren't invested in themselves, aren't known action takers, right? They don't have a proven track record of following through on the things that they do. And then your work becomes harder and you have a lot less testimonials to work with moving forward.
And you, like, again, I have a lot of peers that I'm quite close with, and I will, okay, not that I'm like going to say we're going to knock on wood here, but in my entire online career, I've never been asked for a refund. And in masterminds I'm a part of, that's a constant conversation. I'm like, are we actually, is this
Yeah.
happening? Is
Yeah.
this actually happening where we've like lost sight of service and gotten so focused on like the next sale, the next sale, the next sale, or the next offer, the next offer? That's just like never been a part of my experience, thankfully. And I'm not available for it. So yeah, there's just so many moving pieces. But I say this all the time, and I'm so glad that, you know what I mean? You see that belief too. It's like sales is always going to take certain steps. So it's just as much as like a buyer needs just as much for a high ticket sale as they do a low ticket sale. In my opinion, it's more so about what version of them you're speaking to, who you are being, and what you are representing. And so that means we've got to work on your messaging, we have to work on your sales process, and we have to work on who you are being. And that is all the part of scaling. So that's, yeah, I would say one of the things I continue to focus on behind the scenes when I got back, let's go ahead and say 60, maybe even more percent of my time. And that was the first month. So that first 30 days when I completely shifted how my business was running. And I was like, you know what? I was stuck at like 13K months. It would be so cool to have a 30K month. Like, that's what I'm up for. I had it written everywhere. You know, I was telling Brian, because we were together at the time, like it was all over the place. And we were 27 days into January and I had hit 32. And I never looked back. I never looked back. Why would you? And so I continued obviously to just like continuously stack that proof for myself, continuously work on myself, continuously work on my messaging and how we were showing up, what we were teaching others, what was working, what was not, what was in alignment, you know, all of the things, because there are 1,000,001 strategies and 1,000,001 ways to make $1,000,000. But if you're selling your soul, if you feel misaligned, if you're missing feeling alive, like, just know that there's so many other ways.
Hell yeah. Yeah, let's talk. I think that's like the perfect jump off point because with everything that you said, I know people are like, let's talk about how we went from 13 to 30, 13
Yeah.
going on 30 in
Yeah.
27 days. And just for the folks at home watching this, like it's so funny to watch Candace come to life because we spent 20 minutes prior to this podcast doing some technical stuff. And she's like, well, I guess. And then as soon as it's time to talk business and wealth and certainty, she's on. I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's why I handle the technical stuff. So
That's why Candace doesn't do the tech. Yeah.
perfect. So let's dive into this one around, you talked a lot about mastering the messaging, the marketing. Let's start from the top. So the very first thing you talked about was structure affords freedom. And that was one of the biggest quotes. So like, again, a little bit of my backstory. I came into Candace's world with a $10,000 investment. No application call. We had never spoke. I was referred, so there was a little bit of, social proof. I didn't quite just like see her on the internet, for full disclosure, but I came into this because I knew, right? I knew that this would do it for me. It wasn't like, I hope that this helps me make an ROI and grow my, like, I knew that this was my path. And then it was like, we talked about, okay, well, I definitely, we talked about on the first time we had a call, I was like, well, I definitely want to make that money back in the next 3 months. And you're like, why just that money? Like, why not way more than that? And then it
Can
was
we add a couple zeros?
yeah, exactly. And it was a very similar experience of like within, I think it was a little bit more than 30 days, but it was less than 60 days. I had made 16K. So was like return on investment plus like, 60%, whatever.
Mhm.
And it did like it all happened so quickly. It happened, I don't want to say effortlessly because I don't want to give the opinion that like there wasn't work involved, but the
Because you
work
worked hard.
wasn't, yeah, the work wasn't a grind. It was like work on myself and elevate the way that I show up and the way that this business operates to the degree that I know that every hour I'm putting in
Mm,
is cumulative and compounding rather than, oh, let me send 100 messages and hope that one of them,
yeah.
it was like step after step after step, building upwards. So talk to us a little bit more about your mentality around just that quote, right? That's such a good one. Like structure equals freedom.
Yeah, I love that. Well, the biggest thing was if I knew, so here's how I kind of got to this methodology on my, like in my journey first, because I had made that assumption. My head was pulled from the sand. I'm like, like spitting out the sand, like, shit, like, what happened? Right. And I had to connect with my values. And if my value was quality, I had to stop for a hot second and be like, okay, how will I hold quality in business, in income, in impact, in life, in presence, in being? And that was, okay, well, we don't want to screw around, right? So we need something that's results driven in all those areas. What's going to support that? Okay, well, getting to the point and doing what's necessary, not what's needed, sorry, and what's necessary to continuously move the needle in all of those areas. And that's where we call a DMO, so a daily method of operations. These are your tasks that you're doing every day for yourself, for your business, for your brand, for your clients that are moving the needle in every area, right? For your marketing, for your sales, for your client service, for yourself. And as soon as I realized, okay, this is what needs to happen. Now, how good can I get at all of these things? And I know for you, Kevin, that was like a big world changer for you in your space as well, because that's where speed comes into play.
Mhm.
Well, now you've got the time to master what's needed. You're doing exactly what's needed. You're not screwing around with other things that aren't. And you can master attraction sales instead of being in your DMs. You can master call to actions or sales psychology or brand representation instead of following up, right? Instead, they're coming to you, chasing you down, like, when can I send you my credit card info? Instead of you being like, hey, we talked last week and the week before and the week before. Like,
Yep.
you're starting to see yourself, treat yourself, and execute. Let's make sure we use that word too in your business, like somebody who would obviously be getting paid and
Yep.
not just like here and there. You're somebody who's consistently being paid. And I think that's what contributes to a lot of my client success, if I'm going to be honest, with the speed piece, because that's something we see a lot, something I talk a lot in the stories is, we've got one of my private clients right now, been with me 4 weeks, almost 4 weeks. We created a brand new high ticket offer, radically shifting the way her business is set up. And she's made now over, I think, 13K.
Go.
The offer's not even, we haven't even opened the offer. We haven't even created and launched the offer yet. And it's like, it really, she's like, it really is so simple. Like, it really can be so simple. But here's the thing, you guys execute. The clients you see getting the result, they're executing, they're moving, they're not humming and hawing. If they know they need support, they align with everything I say. They like seeing the results we do. They like the way we do it. They're not like, oh, I should wait 3 more months and keep trying this on my own. They're moving, they're moving, they're moving, they're moving. They're in, hey, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, great. Is this alignment? Yes or no? Let's go. And that supports a lot as well, because we know money loves speed. And sitting in a place of contemplation will honestly create so much stagnation in every area of your life. You'll be constantly thinking about it. There's no freedom there. There's no freedom. And when you're in that contemplation place, or more of like a fight or flight place in your business, depending on, what language you resonate with and you're used to hearing, you're going to start to make decisions that aren't even aligned with the vision. It's more so from a place of fear and franticness, and it just feeds the chaos, feeds the chaos.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this ties in. So we'll segue into representation. But it sounds
Mhm.
like the speed and certainty with which you move attracted people into your business
Mm,
who were
that too.
moving with speed and certainty. And then the whole argument about the like, oh yeah, low tickets, or let's just sell 500 of
Yeah.
these things that don't really change people's lives or facilitate big transformations. All
Yep.
that's out the window because now you're the wave and you're bringing
Yes.
people on board with you to go with
Mhm.
that. So that's, yeah, the representation piece is huge. So talk to us more about, I'll tee up the basics. So if you're a coach, this is actually a quote from you. You are your marketing. You're
Oh, it so is.
you're not Nike selling a pair of shoes and you say, okay, how do we get the brand right? How do we get the logo right to like sell this shoe? It's you. They're buying you. They want proximity to you.
Mhm.
They want to experience the life that you have or something similar to what you have. That's why they're paying you for mentorship. So
Yep.
you are your marketing and your clients are people who want to be like you. So that's the 101. And
Mhm.
why don't you?
And better yet, who are you being? So some clients will come and they'll be like, I can't, like, I'm ready to divorce all of my current clients. I'm like, okay, well, this is great. Let's pause for a second and let's reassess who have we been?
Mhm.
Because we need to have the moment here before we can move on,
And they're there
right?
for a reason, right? Like they came into
That's
your world and your business because of something that you're doing. We can't like as long as
yeah.
you're placing blame externally.
Yeah, you won't. Radical, unsexy responsibility. Those responsibility and intentionality are two words that took me from a coach that was, okay, like let's use the word successful because I was making really good money, but I was burned out, depleted, and resentful, to being an actual industry leader, right? Making upwards seven figures while working 3 hours a day, being the mom of my actual dreams, right? And never having to say no when I want to say yes in life.
Hell yeah.
Those two words. And like, yes, I would say I run my business as a feminine business leader. I would go ahead and describe myself as a much more feminine person than I am a masculine person. But it's because I respect the hell out of what masculine structure does for my business and for myself and for my life. So we'll come full circle with that in a second, but your audience will always match you.
Mhm.
And you have to check in with, who am I being? How am I showing up? What am I showing them is normal? Because I think we said this on the last podcast, like your mission should invite you to being your best self and creating the life of your absolute dreams, because you're always representing something. And there are people in your audience. You're going to remember this, Kevin. There are people in your audience right now who are really on the edge of their seat waiting for this next level of you. And when you actually claim that level and you start to own that and then show up with certainty inside of that, they can't help but be like, you'll literally get this in a DM. I don't know what's going on, but we need to work together. I don't know what's going on, but this like new version of you, I'm really loving. How can we work together? I've been really watching your content lately. How do I apply? And you're like, how is this happening? Right? Same with my private client. Like in the past 2 weeks, she's like, what? Like what? Consistent 4-figure payment coming in, new sales that she's now going to have, and a consistent new 13K a month coming in.
Yeah,
And
it's
like it,
amazing shit. The responsibility, the intentionality. And I know for me, like on a granular level, it looked like it was like a post. It was one post that like shifted the
mm,
momentum of everything. And it was like, you guys hear it in my voice, you probably see it in my look. I'm kind of a hippie. I'm all about like the laid back, like we can be successful, we can experience wealth and money and also like spirituality and grounding in nature, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it was
yeah.
one post, like I remember you gave me the inspiration for this. It was like, today is a special day for me, dot, dot, dot. It's the anniversary of when I stopped giving a fuck. And it was just I switched from, here's 3 tips to do that. And here's one
Mhm.
story about like whatever, which like, I'm not hating on that kind of content. It helps grow accounts. But in terms of conversion, in terms of the stuff that makes people say, oh shit, I need this, it was that. And it was me talking about like, here's what I believe. Here's what I know to be true. Here's the time that people in my world save by not holding on to that bullshit that I used to hold on to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And people just become ready. They're just ready to go for it in a way that doesn't have you creating endless content, doesn't have
Mhm.
you ever DMing anybody. Like I honestly, like obviously you can respond to messages, but like I would not
Absolutely.
ever. And you just have to ask yourself too, again, like pardon me if this is too basic, but like how often do you buy things from people who cold message you on the internet?
I did was it a story or a carousel? And you're gonna see it pop up again. I'm gonna recreate this because I talked about, if you get the ick from somebody in your DM, but you're consistently relying on that and you're wondering why it's not working, check in. That's a perfect example to talk about what we're speaking here in terms of like alignment, your representation, your authority, because it takes so much more effort to convince somebody than it does to literally call them forward through
Inspire them. Yeah.
powerful converting content. And that's what we focus. Obviously, Kevin just said it. We focus a lot of our time with your content, your messaging, your marketing, so that your efforts are actually compounding. If you're trying to convince your clients to come into a program, one, it's going to take, I'm going to say, at least 20 more interactions. And when they come in, it's going to be very few and far between. And it's going to be exhausting because you're going to find you want the results for them more than they do. And you can be like, what's going on? Like they invested. Why are they not showing up? Why are they not working? Like you will notice, or you're feeling it right now, perhaps. But that's the key. That's the biggest piece. Actually being someone you would want to be led by.
Absolutely. And I just like to, again, just keep episode number 2 with Kevin, peeling back more and more of the layers of like why I'm here. I felt that. I really felt that deep just now of like, I tell my girlfriend Haley, like, I'll get off a client, a one-on-one, like I'm back doing one-on-ones because I,
Yeah.
restructured my whole business, came with a whole different model. I'm doing dating now, shameless plug.
Love it.
But it's like I get off these one-to-one calls and it's exactly what you just said. It's how do I want this more than you? How am I working harder on finding you a girlfriend than you're working on this? And it all comes back to that. It comes back to the energy in which I called them into my world. It comes back to
Mm,
the level, like the trajectory that I set for them of what it means to step into coaching with me. And if you
yeah.
set it low, it's like that. It's like you're asking for the hand holding. You're asking for the people who are only ready to pay a certain amount and expect so much more. Whereas if you elevate your energy and then put that forward in your messaging, you're setting a trajectory for your clients to come into your world ready as fuck, not just to buy, but to work and to win. They actually see this as like, this is real for me. Like this is so real for me. I don't see
Yeah.
any other possibility other than success. And thank you for helping me with this.
Yeah.
It's a game changer. And it's, like I said, I'm part of why I'm here is to jump back into this energy and to remember like, fuck, like I do need to make some shifts with my own energy and get this stuff right. So as always, thank you for elevating me and inspiring me to be more
Yeah.
responsible, to have that radical ownership. And yeah.
I love it. And you got to think too. So I just wrote down the word risk and the word power because when you break up with giving a fuck and you actually ask yourself, what do I want? How do I want it? What do I stand for? How do things go? What am I normalizing in my world? What am I, helping others create or see as this can be possible? They love being spoken to in that way. They want to feel if you're in your power and you are going to speak to them in their power. But if you are still in this place of like, oh my gosh, sales are hard. I haven't had a sale in a while. How the hell do I get a sale? What do I do next? Where do I focus next? You're going to speak from a place of convincing. You're going to speak from a place of defeat. Your burnout is going to match their burnout. They're not going to take action. They're not going to feel that pull to take action. They're not going to feel safe in your energy. They won't even know why they're not doing it. They just won't. And the same goes for why, you guys right now are probably loving like all of this conversation about like taking risks and like think the matrix and like big investments. You guys love any reel I talk about of like the moves I've had to make in the last 2 years when my whole life pivoted, like anything that I've done that's required risk and also helped me receive massive, massive reward in my life. You guys eat it up. And there's a reason for that, right? We love to see somebody in their power to represent something for us, as Kevin just said, to inspire, to elevate, to shift the way we're currently seeing, feeling, or thinking about things. And that's what your audience wants from you. And if you're avoiding making decisions and making risks and learning what you don't yet know, you're likely showing up as the person who's avoiding that. And so what are you attracting? More people who are avoiding. And when you take that leap, when you make that investment, when you make that change, when you make that pivot, whatever it is, when you do the thing that's currently feeling like an edge and scary to you in your life, in your business, and you start to let others in around that in a way that feels aligned and, connected to you, suddenly they're like, oh, whoa, it's safe to do that.
Mhm.
Right. And she can hold me or he can hold me because they've done that. This feels safe. And they're like leaning in towards the expansion and the elevation and the growth and the risk. And then it's like this beautiful, you said it earlier, this wave of results.
The wave of results. Get on board.
Wave of results.
And I think a really good way to illustrate this too, and I'm always trying to pay attention. I'm like, okay, how can we make this real simple and tangible for everybody to digest, right?
Why are you here, folks?
If you think about something as simple as like your Instagram bio, right? And you look at Candace's bio, it's like 7 figures with 3 hour days while raising my babies and spending quality time with them, right? That is the power. That
Mhm.
is what she's calling in, what people are stepping into when they want to work with her. Versus imagine the opposite end of the spectrum. If it's like, I work with depressed entrepreneurs who aren't doing shit for themselves. It's like, that's not like, that doesn't spark any sort of inspiration. It's not going to call anybody
Feeling.
into the world. And so you just have to understand that every time you show up vocally on camera camera, in your stories, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's the same as that bio. It's not just like one bite-sized chunk, but it's you representing yourself and the kind of results that your business brings every time you're on. And so you got to ask yourself, like, am I speaking to that person who has a track record of not doing shit for themselves, not the
Yeah.
kind of people who are going to invest in themselves, see awesome transformation, and create this incredible symbiotic flow of business and expansion, personal expansion, as well as business growth?
Yeah.
Or am I speaking to these people who are ready, who are available for success? Let's switch shift into that one. Because even more than saying available for success, I think a better way to put it is they're unavailable for failure. They're unavailable for losing. And I think that's a good transition. I told you guys we'd talk about this on every single episode. Unavailable.
I feel like a proud mama coach at this moment watching you. I'm like, this all sounds so familiar and so good. Do you remember? I say this a lot to our mastermind clients, and I know I remember the most recent time we worked together. I remember where I was sitting when I said this, and remember we were choosing like what is going on in Kevin's world going forward. And we created your bio, and you were like, it's so simple, it's sharp, it's to the point, it's clear representation. And I said, good. Use that as your anchor. So here's a little takeaway tip for you to do every morning, every afternoon, every night. And I'm not saying go on the app and scroll. You're going to go on the app, or better yet, take a screenshot and put it as a screensaver of your phone. You're going to read your bio 3 times. And what you will notice is this is called self-recognition, basically. And it's going to shift the energetic state of your body. And you can't help but put your shoulders back a little more. Your magnet kind of turns on, so to speak, a little bit. And you speak differently, you act differently, you approach things differently, you think differently. You are in your power. And so I love calling when we get really clear on our messaging, we get really clear on all of these components to your business, your messaging, your marketing, your brand representation. This is like the anchor. Every time you start to float away, get frantic, spirally, you're going up top into your literal mind, grab the anchor, come down, breathe into it, see how different you feel. Because if you don't feel connected to your business, it's the quickest way to connect you, as long as it's actually aligned and true for you. And it'll also have you check in with your representation. Am I being that? Am I doing that for myself, let alone for this mission? If I help people heal their hormones, what am I doing for mine? And can I represent that for them? Can I show them what I've had to go through to maintain healthy hormones? Because we know it doesn't just heal and then stay good the rest of your life. This is a lifestyle. So what are you doing to represent that for them? And can you let them in on that? Can you be a clear and clean representation for what you represent?
Oh man, if only you could just heal it once and just and just be good forever.
Wouldn't that be
That'd be so
amazing?
sweet. But yeah, it's definitely like, and again, you guys are all past this because you guys are amazing. You know what you're doing. But if that bio doesn't inspire you,
Mm-hmm.
not going to inspire anybody else. So
Yeah.
you have to work with that. And again, it's not just like, oh, let me write something down that sounds really good. You have to embody it. You have to believe it. You have to say it. You have to speak it. It has to be more than an affirmation, but an incantation. You have to feel it in your body every time. It's like, yes, I really am this,
Yeah.
greatest dating coach of all time. I really am this best public speaker on the planet, handstand coach, yoga
Yeah.
coach, whatever it is. Like, I get to be this, and I get to work on this offline because it's
Mhm.
not just on social media.
No.
When Candace is talking about representation, it's not show up and act like it for 20 minutes a day. It's be this motherfucker, pardon
Hmm.
me. And last week she's like, the podcast is called Soulful Rich Bitch. You're allowed to swear. You get to be this motherfucker, and you get to design the vision and clear out any obstacle in the way of being this person 24 hours a day. Like, this is now your greatest job, your deepest passion, and your soul-led work. And then the representation online comes when you just show up. That's just showing off. You just get to share all of that work that you're doing and all that energy that you're storing up with the world to
Yep.
inspire them and create, as she said, it creates like a level of, when you give yourself permission to be the person that you want to be, you're inviting other people to give themselves permission to be the people they want to be. And that's like really just my favorite part about the whole coaching industry is the level of
It's the biggest and best invitation. It
yeah,
really, really
yeah.
is, right? And I always say that like your certainty will be felt on and off the screen. And so what Kevin just said there, like that's the money. Like take that, run, think about it, right? Actually act on that today. Like who am I being when nobody's watching? What am I thinking? What am I acting like? Because that's where the certainty will come from. That's where you'll notice you don't need to convince anybody. You don't, right? They get to see that. And I was joking with our Freedom Society members. I think it's last call. And I was like, you literally get to know that your audience, we call it, they have invested in the follow button. They've invested to follow you. So you get to walk around and know and anchor into your mission that they are obsessed with you. Like your audience is obsessed with the work that you do. So are you going to own it or are you going to shy away from it? Are you going to try and convince them that it's great or are you just going to know how great it is? And that's two different places to be thinking, acting, speaking from. And that's where it's like, that's where, air quotes, ease and flow will be found is in, right, the strategies of you, your certainty, your messaging, your marketing, and obviously feeling aligned with the whole damn thing.
Absolutely. It's almost like, yeah, there's no level of convincing them. It's like you got to convince yourself or
Yeah.
like brainwash your subconscious mind, however you
Yes.
want to say it. But it's like
Normalize it. Yes.
that is how you say it. Yeah.
It is
Talk,
how I say
talk to
it.
us about that because that was another one along with the, we've got so many phenomenal themes here around unrealistic,
Yeah.
unavailable, normalizing.
Yep.
How do you used to be in a world that you're no longer in at all now of I got to hustle 24/7, I got to do this
Yeah.
just to meet, et cetera, et cetera. When you're going from that space, anybody watching this who's like, fuck, that's me. And they want to shift into this normalization of like, I go to the beach every other day because I love it and I get to, and that gets to be true for me. What's the process to normalize that, to start to let that show up in your world and not be like, because I know, again, speaking from personal experience, sometimes I'll be at the beach and I'll be like, what if I'm not working enough? What if I need to be back on my laptop more? So how do we start to slow down those gears and essentially give ourselves permission to relax and normalize what it is that we actually want?
That's such a loaded and really juicy question. So in our vault that our members and our clients get, we have that. I think I explained that to you. We have the normalization track. It's an audio series because I'm like, you don't need this in a video. You need this so you can click play multiple times a day whenever you feel you need it. And you kind of work your way through the 5 audios and you go back to the beginning and you keep combing. It's basically like you're combing through your subconscious mind, your belief system, your actions, your leadership. At the end of the day, it is like the subconscious rewire paired with the self-leadership development, because being that version of you that gets to the beach and is like, oh, should I really be here? Like, it's so hard to be present. It's so hard to have fun. I'm constantly like, what should I be doing next? What can I do to get the next sale so I feel safe? And if that's, so here's step one of the audios is find your gaps. You have to face them. You have to see them. You have to bring awareness because change comes from awareness. So you want to acknowledge, okay, what are my gaps? So this is what I think. These are my current fears. This is how those make my body feel. This is what I'm wanting, but I don't have. And you can start to recognize where your gaps are and where your work is. And what's so neat is the next time you go back to the first audio, you'll be working on something totally different.
Yep.
So right from there, it's like, okay, now we know what our gaps are. So what do we need? Okay, well, do I need to work on my new core energetic beliefs? If that's the case, yes, right? So now Kevin's got so much to say on these because I used to make so good. Okay, so then it's like you are going to rewrite your new core energetic beliefs. And we have an audio that like steps you through rewriting these. What gets to be true for you? How would you have it? What are you like, what is the only reality you're available for? And what are you doing to ensure that happens? So this is where energetics get mixed with responsibility and execution, because now you need to make sure that you're executing on what's not happening. Okay, well, do you have content scheduled for the week? Or are you frantically spending, I have clients come to me and they're like, I'm currently spending like 2 hours a day on social media just trying to get content out. I'm like, you wouldn't be doing that if you made 7 figures. Like that's not sustainable. So what can you do to support you feeling more safe when you go take the afternoon at the beach, right? What are you doing? That's just one prime tiny little example of something that might have you frantic of like, oh my gosh, when I get home, I still have to do this, this, and this. Okay, well, what parts could you be batching and doing responsibly? What parts aren't even necessary? Once you actually create your core energetic beliefs, can you realize, oh wait, some of these things are conditioning and patterns and beliefs that aren't mine. Now we do the work of forgiveness and giving it back. And I know we talked about that in the last episode, but that's where so much of that lies. And then it's again, the normalizing. So now we listen to an audio where we're like seeing that as our daily life. And we're literally becoming so freaking delusional because we're going to go about our day as if that was who we were. That was our reality. That is what we act from. So every time I'm still in this current season, letting you guys in, I'm in the season of manifesting like my dream home for the kids and I here in Ontario. and still like working through bits and pieces of my new vision, but I am activated and unapologetic about what this next season looks like. And I'm quite jazzed to let you in as we go along. But for me, for example, today, I'm going to look at literally the house of like my manifested dreams. Okay. And it came into my world last night. And I kid you not, within 12 hours, I already had a viewing booked.
Let's go.
Okay. It doesn't make sense, but yet of course it does, right? It's unrealistic. And so I'm spending my afternoon looking at that house. This afternoon, once I'm done, instead of coming home, my kids are with their dad for the next 24 hours. Instead of coming home and sitting on the couch, scrolling social media, or I don't even know, like going to a pub, or I'm just trying to think of things that people do that I don't do. I don't know. Instead of gossiping, instead of anything that's just like fucking ick, if I'm being completely honest, to me, I'm going to the spa where I'm going to enjoy a nice sauna session in a steam room. Hey, I'm gonna come home, I'm gonna shower, I'm gonna make myself a nice nutrient dense high protein meal, and I'm probably going to journal in front of my red light and be in bed before 9 p.m. I'm not going to have one worry of, oh my gosh, what if I don't get this house? I'm not going to spend my afternoon numbing out and spiraling mentally on what will I do if I don't get it? Oh my gosh, do you think I'm, I don't even know what the word is. Do I meet the requirements? Like, will I get accepted for
I
this?
deserve this.
Do I deserve that? Oh my gosh, like what if that happens and I lose it? Like, no, no. So when I'm in the steam room, I'm going to picture myself walking around this ginormous, gorgeous ass kitchen, cooking nutrient dense meals for my kids, hosting our friends, having, kombucha and wine glasses, having dance parties in the morning on the island with the kids. That's something we do. And like, I'm going to picture myself in my home. And that's because I'm unavailable for anything else. Okay. That's the process of normalizing it. And then, in a couple not a couple, that's being over exaggerate. We meet weekly here, Kevin and I, but a couple months time, you guys are going to see me in a new office where I'm going to be telling you the story about manifesting this house. And that's because I'm telling you right now, I am unavailable. It'll be that or better. It'll be a house down the road. If it's not that house, I really don't care. I'm not worried. I'm not worried. This house literally popped up and I was like, that's everything. That's it. Check, 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 check. Wow. Cool. Sent a message. Next thing you know, I'm waking up to a good morning, Candace. Would you like to come view the house at 3:45? I'll see you then. Because I'm like in my head, of course.
Because it's normalized, because your nervous system is already ready for it.
I'm ready for it. I have been journaling about it. I have been picturing myself there. I've been thinking about it and being crystal clear on what do I actually want? Not what do my parents want for me? Not does society, what does society want for me? What kind of house did my friends just buy? I'm not worried about that. I'm like, what do I want? I don't care if it seems unrealistic to the, average population. I'm not here to be average. I'm here to be exceptional. I'm here to make exceptional safe. And I have to then feel safe with my desires, with my vision, with my dreams. I have to feel safe exploring it. I have to feel safe making risks and bold moves, right? This isn't just going to be like the easiest move of my life. This is going to take some bold move, but I'm unapologetic about it. I'm not fazed by it. I'm not letting it win. I'm winning. But and that's why I love that audio series, right? It's like, it literally walks you through where it's like baby steps, but yet it's developing so much self-leadership and so much self-trust and so much self-awareness.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. That's crazy. I'm definitely gonna take a revisit through all of those audios this week for sure, because just hearing about this is it's bringing back memories.
Yeah.
So that's gorgeous. So the storytelling was amazing. I can see it. Like I'm like, I feel like I'm in the house too. Let's go. But as far as like the framework, just for like the key takeaways here,
Yeah.
it's essentially being unavailable for the worries and the doubts. You realize that there's
Absolutely.
a lot more hours in the day than you think when you stop wasting time bringing yourself down, right? If Candace's current house is here and her new house is here, she's just like, I'm walking to the house. I don't have to sprint and then forget that I left something here and then run back over here and then doubt if I'm worthy of it and then try to take this path, get the shiny object syndrome and try to be over here. Like,
Right.
walks over to the house. She walks over to the house. And then
So
it comes back.
simply.
We can riff on this one more too, of the core energetic beliefs. She
Amazing.
knows what gets to be true for her. And for her, one of the biggest things is it's always this or something better. So as she's walking over to this house, if something happens, there's another house over here. There's another house. Oh my God, this house behind that one was even more beautiful. Look at that. Good thing I didn't get this house. And so it just continues to work out. So tell us more about like how you chose your core energetic beliefs. And I know that as far as like how you anchored them in is very similar to what you just talked about.
Yeah.
But those would be the questions that they want to know. How did you choose these? How did you come up with them? Where did you get them? How did you know they were right for you? And then how do you like just cement that, right?
I love it. Pour that in. Yep. I want to say one thing too on just that beautiful analogy you gave us with your fingers. with me walking to the house. I want you to remember too how less exhausted I'm going to be when I get there. How I'm actually going to feel because I was just like, do, 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 do. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I got to run. Oh, and then I forgot this. Oh, and then I gotta go there. Oh, and then I gotta go back. I was just like walking up to my house. Oh, this door is closed. Let's go to this one behind it. Wow, what a view. We are home. Okay, like I'm not obsessing. I'm not looking at a zillion pictures of this house over and over again. I did look 3 times this morning, we'll be honest. But I'm not not like, I mean, the kids want to see it, right? And there's 2 of them, so we all look. And that's the big piece. So now let's talk about core energetic beliefs because I think that there's a lot of misconception around this. I talk a lot about scaling and I'm very passionate about it. I'm very good at it. It is my zone of genius. That's just something I'm gifted in. And part of scaling is scaling you and your desires, your belief systems, your subconscious programming will continuously evolve and will continuously need you to address it, to sit there, to bring awareness, to upgrade it, to choose new ones, to, forgive old ones, to give old ones back to where they originated from. All of the things. They require new boundaries, just all of the awareness. As you create awareness on your beliefs, you're going to notice, okay, I need boundaries here, right? So for example, in the audio series, I'm like, where do you need boundaries? Where do you need alarms, accountability? Where do you need, you need to be all in on you. And so your belief systems will constantly be upgrading. I don't know. How many times did I make you rewrite yours, Kevin, in like a 3-month span, for
I mean,
example? Probably monthly.
yeah, and it became an everyday thing because
Yes.
as soon as you take another step up, you can see
Mm-hmm.
further, and then you
Yep.
can decide different things for yourself.
Yeah. And so one of my little trick, let's call it, if you're like having a day or you're like in a mood or you're like not in the mood you want to be in, I'll tell clients and I pick up on this so quickly, so quickly. I'm like, you need to grab a sticky note, scrap piece of paper, the back of a receipt, whatever is in close proximity, and 5 bullet points, 5 bullet points. And it doesn't have to be crazy, crazy next level. It just has to be what you know you're after, what you know you're available for. What do I want? What type of person am I? I'm the type of woman who, or I run the type of business where my marketing does XYZ for me. I have the type of audience or community that, and like just allow yourself to expand your current energy field, expand your current thought patterns, and start to shift the way you think, right? What you believe, what you continuously think will create your belief. So if you're continuously thinking sales are hard for me, you will begin to believe sales are hard for me. Then you will begin to experience, oh, see, sales are so hard for me. So it's about changing what we think we can have, what we think we can do, who we think we are, so that we can then change the belief. And so that's why I love recommending writing them down as often as you possibly can, because obviously if you're writing it, you're thinking about it, therefore you're going to start believing it. But I always recommend getting a sheet of paper and you're just going to start, and we have a bunch of prompts in the programs, right? And I always recommend doing front and back of a sheet of paper and sticking it to your desk, using it as a bookmark in your journal or your book. If you're not someone who journals, but you're someone who reads, put that stuff somewhere. Take a picture of the front and back, put it into the notes of your phone, and just start to read them and write them as often as you can. What will happen? How will you know they're right for you? Because one, you're going to create a new feeling in your body, and way different. You go try it right now because there's no other way to explain it, right? As you're listening, write down a couple things, send yourself a text if you're listening on your phone. Who are you? Who the hell are you? What is your mission? What are you doing here? What is normal for you? What is the only reality you are available for? And how does that reality play out for you, right? How does your body get to feel? Your business get to go? Sales get to feel for you? Your home get to feel for you? Your day-to-day life get to be? Like, go there. What do you believe gets to be true about that? How do you want that to be? And you'll know it's time to change them when you're like, yeah, like it's just neutral. There's no charge. You're not, right? You're pretty much there at that point, or you haven't been leading yourself and it's time to just like reactivate that part of you. So obviously be intentional and have some awareness around that. But as long as you are showing up every day and you're reading those beliefs, it's going to be pretty damn hard to not act on them.
Yeah, definitely. And that was the one that I did daily. Like you did it like
Yes.
once a month. I was like, I did that like you have me do that like every day. What are you talking about? But that's what we're talking about, yeah. And it is crazy too, just like how malleable reality really is. And how
Mhm.
many times you'll get into a situation where you think this is the way that it is. Oh, XYZ happened and I have to feel a certain way about it. But when you revisit these core energetic beliefs, so like let me make this tangible. Let's talk real life. So Haley and I are going abroad. We're leaving the country. We don't know exactly when we're coming back, right? So
Today, guys, today he's doing that.
we leave today, yeah. So I transferred my car to my mom, like the title. title.
Right.
And because we love each other like that. We're family, we
Yes.
share resources. So
Love.
unfortunately, again, hippie mind, astronaut brain. I left the title in Washington. Right? We're in California now. I left the title not here. And so there were complications, right? And so this is to illustrate the example of like, there are complications in life. There's distortions in this physical reality. I'm not arguing that. However, in this moment where we started to panic and be like, well, it's not going to work. It's not going to be able to happen. We're going to have to put the car in storage and pay for extra insurance and all this stuff. I came back to it. Hey, look, what are my core energetic beliefs? Things get to be easy. Things get to flow. My mother and I get to have a loving relationship full of ease and flow and simplicity, et cetera, et cetera. And you take one breath into that and you get the feeling that Candace described, everything shifts from anxiety and stress and worry, things that I'm unavailable for. And you come back into
Noted.
like, okay, this is the way that it gets to be for me. And we look at each other and we say, let's figure it out.
Yep.
We call the offices, they call the DMV, get the forms, do this, do that. Again, things have to be done. This isn't sit on your couch and visualize what you want for 10 minutes a day and then watch Netflix the rest of the day
Yeah.
and expect it to show up. This is moment by moment reconnecting to what gets to be true to you, anchoring into your vision, and then executing on it, taking the action from a place of alignment rather than from a place of resistance and letting it work out. Spoiler alert, we did get everything sorted out. My mom has the car now. She's absolutely in love with it. And yeah, like Candace said, Haley and I are leaving to Thailand tonight.
Which we love for you. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I think that that's a big piece is letting it happen. And where again, we're going to bring that word. This is the theme this podcast, responsibility. You have to take responsibility with these beliefs. So if you know you want this belief, but you currently keep thinking this thought, you have to stop. When you catch that thought, you have to think the new belief, think the new belief, think the new belief until it becomes the thought, right? And you have to take that time and have that awareness to do those things. You have to be responsible about your thoughts, responsible about your actions, responsible about things that you're doing. So when I'm in the steam room this afternoon, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to smile about getting the message that it's going through. It's a go, right? I'm going to let these things happen for me instead of create all these blocks of resistance using my limitations, my beliefs, things that are being thrown at me from, oh, single motherhood, that's hard. No, Sally, it's actually fucking not, right? I'm thriving, they're thriving. We're good. Thank you for stopping in. Please
Fuck you,
don't come
Sally. Get the fuck
back.
out of my face.
Like, no. And if you are finding it difficult, and don't get me wrong, there are days and moments, more so moments than days, and you have to hit the reset button or the pause button, have a little collective breath. But if you are choosing a life of responsibility and awareness and actually creating your own life, you have to check in with your beliefs. And I think tuning in and using this as a moment for yourself to ask yourself, am I really taking responsibility for what I want, who I want to be, how I want to feel, the life that I want to have? Things might be okay right now, but they're obviously not where you want them to be if you're somebody who's constantly evolving. So what do you want? What do you want to normalize going forward? And what do you have to believe is true for you in order to experience that? And that is where your work lies.
No notes. There,
Boom.
the process of being where you're at, like being where your feet are, loving where you are, accepting where you are, and always knowing that you're allowed to grow and get even more and welcome in even more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, future millionaires, thanks for hanging out with me in today's episode. I cannot wait to hear your takeaways from it. If you haven't yet, take a quick screenshot and share this to your stories. Tag me so I can shout you out for elevating and showing up for yourself. I want you to remember you were born deserving of a wealthy life, and now it's time to create it.